Hey everybody, welcome to this first session of the WeWeb office hours. Today I'm with Flo, our head of product, to answer your questions. How you doing, Flo?
I'm good, thank you. And you?
I'm quite sick, to be honest, so hopefully
Yeah,
I'm
I know.
sorry if I'm really slow, but yeah, it's just today because Murphy's Law, you know. But yeah, hopefully it will be okay. So as you maybe know, I asked you WeWeb users to give us to ask us questions about things you didn't manage to do inside WeWeb. So we answered two of them today because I had like four answers last time. I've seen that there were new answers. Sadly, I didn't have time to prepare them, but we'll handle them next time. But yeah, today we'll handle two questions that we had from our users. One is about roles in Xano, and the other one is about scroll bars inside when content is overflowing. And yeah, again, don't hesitate to ask us questions during the live and yeah, to say hello basically and ask questions. Yeah, thanks, Anthony. I hope also I will get better because I'm soon on holidays. And Quentin saying finally on YouTube. To be honest, we are always on YouTube for like if you've been following the webinars and everything, we are always on YouTube. So it's not the first time. So yeah. Today is basically on YouTube, Twitch, and LinkedIn, and maybe we'll add new channels in the future. Hello, GM AGN. So yeah, again, don't hesitate to ask any questions. And first thing we'll do is basically explaining how to use role from Xano into WeWeb, so restricting access to pages to certain roles only. So the question was from a user that was asking like, yeah, I've got roles inside Xano. So, you know, like each user has a role, could be an admin, could be a normal user, etc. And the thing is, I want to restrict some pages to users having a certain role. So how can I do this in WeWeb? And it didn't manage to do this. And I will show you there's something you need to do in Xano in order for this to work. But it's not that complex. So let me share you my screen. And we'll get started. So can everybody see my screen? Yeah, I think so. I'll
Yes,
zoom
that's
a
good.
little. Nice. I'll zoom a little also on Xano. So yeah, basically, I've got a Xano table with here. It's a simple example, so I only have two users, but it could be the same for like any number of users. And by default, they are normal users, and some of them are admin. So here it's a simple example where the role is in the user table as a string, but it could be a list of sort of string or object, could even be in another table. But the user had this specific use case and it's the simple one, but it would be the same for like list of text, for example. And the thing is, I created a WeWeb project with the Xano authentication. So like using my Xano projects, I've got a login page to log the user in, obviously. And then I've got a home page, which is public for everybody who's logged in. So you still need to be logged in, but anybody could go to this page. And then I have an admin page, which should be visible to admins only. So the way to do this is actually to set up WeWeb in a way for it to fetch the the roles. So yeah, like for example, here you see when I configured my Xano authentication plugin, here you can see that in user role configuration, I have my role key, which is role, because inside my user table, it's called role. But here, if it would be another name, I would change to match the name here. And I'm saying to WeWeb, it's simply a text and not a list of text or object here, because like a user can have only one role in this use case. But that would be the same for the other ones. And then you can
To add a
manage.
bit more,
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry.
just
Go
to add a bit more on what you said, the most important thing is the endpoint, the get me endpoint. So
Yeah.
even if it's not in your schema in your database, if your endpoint, the get me endpoint return the role, this is what you need to put here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the you just you just took what I wanted to say, so thanks.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
I killed the transition.
No, that
I
was
closed
a
my
spoiler
mouth.
alert. But no, that's exactly the
I'm
issue the user
sorry.
had, and I just wanted to do this later. But no worries. I mean,
Okay,
you're
sorry,
the
Q.
CPO, so you know.
I wanted to add more details. My
Yeah,
mistake.
because
I let you go on
I
then.
I also had the same issue, and I was like, why is it not working? I had the same issue as the user, because then you have to manage roles here. So what you do is that you create role, like WeWeb needs to know the value the column can take. So here I typed again admin and normal, because that's the only two ones I have here. But if I had another user with another role, I would add this here. And then I created a group called admins, which is basically matching the role admin. Because to grant a private access to a page, what WeWeb does is that it uses user groups, and user group can be a mix of several roles, basically. So here it's a really dumb group, which is just matching one role. Joy is asking something, so we'll just check. I've had it all set up like that, but when trying to access the page that my user is a part of, it kicks me back to the login screen. Exactly, and I will show you why. That's exactly what Flo explained, is that when you've got this, basically, WeWeb still doesn't know the role of the users. What WeWeb needs to know is that it needs to know the current role of the user when the user is logging in. So I will show you exactly. So by logging here inside the WeWeb app, so and when I do sign in, see here in the variables, I will see my user. But you see here that I have the role that's present inside the user. And as Flo said, it's really important to update the get me or off me endpoint. You see here in the plugin, you have this get me endpoint. And what WeWeb uses it to fetch the user, the current user on every page view. But the thing is, by default, when you create a new column in Xano, this column is not added to the get me. By default, you only have like the name, the email, and the password. So what you have to do is actually go inside the API, go in the off me, and here in the get record from user, in the output, be sure to have the role added, because by default, it's not selected. It's like this. And when I do this, I can show you by updating it. So, and then going back into WeWeb and refetching the data. So maybe I will just refresh the whole page. If I go in the variables, you see here, I don't have the role anymore. And when you don't have the role, because like private access is not enforced in the editor so that you can edit easier, but on the published app, if you don't have the role, it won't match when you're going to the admin page. The WeWeb app will say, hey, this user doesn't have the admin role. So basically, I will redirect back to the login page. But if you have it in the off me here, WeWeb will know that it's an admin and won't redirect the user. So then I will save, publish, refresh again my page. And you see here my user as the role admin. And to show you this, I publish the app, and I will log in as Joyce, because Joyce is a normal user. So you see, she can go on the home page, but when you go to the admin page, WeWeb will reject this, and you will go to the login page again. But if I log in as me, so Quentin, and then I go to the admin page, it's working. And the main thing was exactly what Flo said, is that WeWeb is not aware of which data is part of the user if it's not in the off me, like the get me endpoint. So basically, you have to update the Xano endpoint. It's the same for Supabase, for example, or like custom backends. Is that you have to pass all the data that WeWeb needs, because basically WeWeb doesn't know this beforehand. And if it's lacking this data, by default, WeWeb won't match it to a specific user group. So yeah, cool. That was the last piece I needed. Thank you. Hopefully, office hours are here for this. So nice. But yeah, it's something to catch actually, which is not easy. I had the same reaction as you, Joy Laser. Is that yeah? First, I was like, why is it not working? And basically, it's a backend thing in the end, but that's something we have to explain also as well. And hopefully, when you're using tools like Xano or Supabase, you can update this really easily and really fast. But yeah, and it's the same for example, if you are using like here we're showing this for user roles, but could be also for anything that's part of the user. For example, if you're inside your app and then you're binding some stuff and you need some data that it's inside the user, you will need to pass it also in the get me. So yeah, it could be used for anything. Don't know if you wanted to add something else, Flo?
No, it was, I guess, extremely clear.
Nice. But yeah, Flo had it already. Flo is really used to this. It's really funny. I was like, that was the catch. He was like, yeah, you need to update it already.
Yeah, we may need to add a label or something in the wall step to tell you that you need to make sure that the role is in the get me endpoint.
Exactly.
And maybe to add a bit more on this, when you are using private pages, your users won't load anything. I mean, WeWeb will make a request to Xano to get the user, make sure the users have the correct rights before giving the file and access to the page. So this is a true protection. It's not a protection on the front end. It's really on the back end. So users that don't have the correct rights won't have access to any private pages.
Yeah, exactly. It's not done in the front end, so it's really secure. So yeah. And yeah, I didn't show, but obviously if you want to use a user group on the page, so here on the admin page, you select authenticated user, and then this will pop up and you can add as many user group as you want. And again, user groups are mixes of roles. So that could be, you could do really complex stuff in the end for private access. We've got a question from... Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. No, I just wanted to add that if you need to hide something in the page, then just not to manage private accesses, it's like Q did before. You manage that with the binding and what you get into the user profile. So in here, you can decide to add more complex rules to display some menus, for example, or buttons, depending on the role of what's inside the user profile.
Yeah, you can do stuff like if the role, for example, is admin, then I can show you're an admin. Otherwise, you're not admin. And yeah, here it's saying that I'm an admin. And if I were logged in with Joyce, it would be written, you're not an admin. You're not admin. Yeah. So yeah, you can do really specific stuff. But again, everything that's here is what we get from the the get me endpoint.
Thank you. A good practice would be to create a global formula that would be isadmin or something like this, and then you could reuse this formula everywhere in your application. And if you need someday to change the rule around this, you would have to do it only in one place in your application, and it would be done everywhere. So like this, exactly.
And then I can do stuff like if where is this?
The formula is in the last tab. Yes,
sorry.
It's a bit hidden. Yeah.
If is admin, then admin admin. Yeah,
And
nice.
this is a good
Okay.
practice.
Yeah, so that if you change the name of admin, for example, in your DB, it's not admin anymore. You just have to change the global formula
The
and not
global
everything.
formula. Exactly.
We've got a question from Anthony. I think we can answer this. Is it possible in the future to bind an element name? I think you could ask. You could ask for this in feedback.weweb.io. I will send you the link. I
Why
think
would
it's
you
not
like
possible.
to?
Yeah.
No, right now without JavaScript you cannot. But why would you like to do it, Anthony? I'm interested in that.
Yeah, using the use case, that would be cool. In the meantime, I would go to the second thing, which is removing scroll bars and handling overflow and styling scroll bars. So, which is actually kind of tricky on some things. So, on some elements, you will have to create tickets for us, and maybe we'll update them. But the main question from the user was like, when I have a overflowing element, so for example, a pop-up or modal, I get a scroll bar, which is intended behavior from the browser. And how can I like remove the scroll bar and even style it? And the question was even to remove all scroll bars, which is something you can do, but it's really bad practice for UX. But you can do this. So for this, I created a small page called scroll bars with a model. And this model is huge. Basically, I've got like a huge lorem ipsum model. And in this model, I have to scroll to see all the content. And this is because the model has a certain height and the content is like overflowing, getting past this height. So to change this behavior, for example, in the Flexbox, I could say that I could change the overflow property. So by default, it's auto. It's the same as scroll. So you have the scroll bar, but you can say, for example, visible. So you say you see everything, but if your screen is too small, you won't see everything in the end. And hidden is like you won't see what's going past the height. So actually, you can, yeah, like and unset. I don't remember what this is, to be honest. Maybe Flo, you know, but I think that's classic CSS.
It's the default. Basically, normally in the CSS, you don't put in anything if you don't want any overflow, and we had to add the property because it exists, and it's to say that
Yeah.
you don't have any overflow. It's like putting nothing. It's like resetting the property.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can try to style the scroll bar, but to do this, you will have to use custom CSS. So to do this, I asked WeWeb Copilot and ChatGPT basically to help me. And it's totally doable to edit a scroll bar. So for example, you have this pseudo classes WebKit scroll bar, WebKit scroll bar thumb, hover, and scroll bar track. And it's basically to change the style of a scroll bar. The thing is, some elements like this model, I had to use like the the star because it's not directly this element doesn't have directly the scroll bar. So even if I use like, for example, a class like scroll container or anything, there will be a div inside it because that's how we implemented the component. So what I would suggest is either creating your own component or like using this CSS globally on your whole app. But keep in mind that you will change all the scroll bars for your app. And that's considered best practice UX wise to keep the default scroll bars because people are used to it. So, but if you really want to change the design, you can do this. But basically, right now you would have to do custom CSS. And because it's pseudo classes, you can't do this directly in the elements because we don't handle pseudo classes in CSS right now. That's something maybe we'll add in the future. But yeah, you will have to use custom CSS. Yeah. But anyway, keep in mind that you have the overflow option here inside any on any element that under it. So basically divs. And just so that you have a new question, so try to answer it. Do I understand correctly that code that we create in WeWeb converts in Node TypeScript at deploying? Does it mean that we can use all APM libs in WeWeb Online Editor? It's not converted in TypeScript. It's Vue.js, but I think without TypeScript at the moment. And that doesn't mean you can use all npm libs in the WeWeb editor. By default, you will need to create a custom component for this. So I can refer to the live we've done with Aurélie, our head of frontend, on creating custom Vue.js components, but you can't use any npm libraries like this. So
Yeah. Not
maybe Flo, if you
directly
want
in
to
the
elaborate.
editor.
Yeah.
Yeah, not directly in the editor. You could load it in the header and then manage it, but as we cannot run the code in the custom header in the editor, it will be a bit cumbersome for you to use. But something as Q said, you can create your own custom component, Vue.js component, and inside that component, you will have access to the package.json, and inside this package, you can add any library you want. Basically, what we do when you click publish, we gather every component that are used and the code of these components, and we go through each package.json and we add then the libraries into the final app we create. So the library will be added like developers would do in your final application. So this is really
I
a
can show
standard
this, yeah.
Vue.js application.
I can show this by showing you the components we created during the live. So I send the link in the chat, but basically we created kind of a sortable list elements. So it's on GitHub. And when you see the package.json, you were using the Vue draggable library that we also use, for example, in the Kanban elements inside WeWeb. So to handle drag and drop, basically. And this will get added in with the element when a user is adding it to a project. So yeah, and that's how you define it. And by the way, all the elements in the WeWeb UI kits and the plugins, they are available
Yep.
open source here. So I will send you also the link so that you can fork them, see how it's done, and create your own components. Yeah.
Everything you
And
drag and drop
yeah,
comes from those elements. We didn't cheat
yeah,
in any way. So
yeah,
you can
exactly.
create your own ones, and it will work the same way.
Yeah, for example, if I see WeWeb calendar, it's using ViewCal. Yeah, so you see you can add like dependencies like this. Yeah. Another question. Current use case, form input fields. Right now, I have to type them out individually versus controlling them dynamically. I have a server list of field names that I'd like to not manage for several forms. What do you mean? You mean like repeating inputs inside the form? I'm not sure to get it. Because that's something I want to show in a future office hour. Maybe I can, if we have time, we can maybe show this now. But that's something I would definitely want to show because many users have been asking for this. It's when, like, how to handle forms when the inputs are not like static, but are like in a collection list, for example. So let's say you have a form and you have dynamic questions. So you're binding the fact that an input is displaying or not, like, or how many inputs you have to a variable or a collection. Then the thing is, you will lose the internal variable of the input. So you will need to use unchanged workflows and storing results in a new variable. But that's something we'll definitely cover in the future, I think. This was for binding the element name question above. Yeah. Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
because you would like to see the names, or do you want to use the names for something later, or it's just for labels, to display the labels in the forms, just to understand exactly why you need to have access to the name if it comes from your data.
Yeah, and don't hesitate if you have any other questions, because that were the two use cases we had for today. It's the first time, so we're still so we don't have like that many questions for now, but hopefully you will give us many more.
More.
And we have yeah, and we have like new ones for the next one, because I had, as I said, I had like new questions today. But yeah, definitely if you have like small questions, we can handle this today. And for some of you, I'm sorry, because I know some of you have been asking questions. I think I answered by email, and we couldn't answer them during the office hours because it's either like missing features, so you would have to create tickets on feedback.weweb.io, or like bugs. So bugs is the same; you have to do a ticket, and there's nothing we can do during lives, sadly.
Shoot,
Zachary has a question.
Zachary.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go on. Thanks, Joy Laser. Really cool to hear this. Hey, you have like paying users on the platform you're creating on WeWeb. That's really cool to hear. Nice. What's the platform about, by the way? Okay, question. Nice. For exporting project files, not raw, is it mandatory to add project UI kit for the component? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
For what component? A custom one you built yourself? Normally, if you use the files, not the raw ones. You mean the built ones, right? If it's not the raw
Yeah,
ones.
not raw, like built.
Normally, you don't have to do anything, just to host it, and it will work as it is.
Yeah, because it's built with the custom component also.
Everything will be compressed and built for production.
Yeah, what this does is that basically it's creating a Vue.js app that's built, and what Node is doing basically is that it's taking all the dependencies, the custom element, everything. It's bundling it together in a big project file, so you don't have to add anything else. It's like it can live by itself. Love this question. When will the creation of reusable components be released? You have got the CPO here, so you can answer
Okay,
this.
so I can start by telling you that we all can't wait for that. I can't give you a proper date right now, but I can tell you what features are coming and when the components will arrive in the list, in the priority. So first, we just released the classes, and the next big things to be released, hopefully by the end of August, but it's planned for September. It's the possibility to roll back your editor and do overshading, so you'll be able to commit your work, and we will do some auto commit to save anything you do. Then you will be able to open any project in any version on read only if you need to copy paste something you lost and you don't want to roll back because your partners or collaborators worked on the project. So you will be able to copy paste anything from previous version into your editor. So all your work will be saved. So this is the first thing. Then we are going to work on front-end logs. So you're gonna have a new tab in the navigator to get everything that's going on in your project. So all the workflows that are triggered, the formulas, everything's going on, the requests, and a bit like the console or the network you get into the inspector for developers, you will have something like this in the editor, so you can debug easily and know what's going on easily in your application. So this is the second thing. The third one is we are going to revamp the design systems. So you're going to have a nice new icon into the header where we're going to gather your fonts, your colors, your classes, and then your components. So we are going to prepare that, and design system won't be anymore at the workspace level, it will be at the project level. So if you need to update a design system, it will be by a project, a bit like in Figma. And then you're going to have a tool to say that, okay, that design system, I want it to be shared into my workspace. So it would be much more easier for you to manage your design systems and to share them with your team or with other people at your discretion, basically. And so versioning, rollbacks, logs, design systems, and after that, we are going to be focused again on the components, and this will be the next big thing to have. So you're going to have a component builder, an editor dedicated for components with internal variables, internal word formulas, internal workflows, and you're going to be able to add them into your design system and then drag and drop them and have instances everywhere in your application. So you can manage that like developers do.
Yeah, nice. I like think to help you scale your project and collaborate on this. So as
Exactly.
Takudzuwa said, yeah, sorry if I'm like
Oh.
not saying the names right. Version management, we're getting there, but that's the thing, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
definitely.
yeah. And one more thing I forgot. In the meantime, we are going to release more and more what we call component actions. So we have some opinionated components like the rich text element, the Kanban, the data grid, the calendar, and we know that you cannot edit everything. And in our vision, you should be able to do it. We tried that, and what we are going to do is to release the same components, but you are going to be able to edit everything. And basically, for the rich text element, you're gonna have the nice top header with bold and italic options and so on, and you're gonna be able to click on it, and you will see that a workflow is going to be linked to that element with the component actions that trigger the action, basically. So you're going to be able to remove the options you don't want, change the icon, change the color, change even the action itself if you need to. So you're going to be able to wrap the components we have and do your own ones. So your own rich text element, your own data grid, your own calendar, and your own everything basically. And we are going to do it because it's going to prepare for the components, because after that, the next step is just to have a component to wrap it with some props and have instances in your application. So it was a big technical, but now you know everything.
Nice. Um, okay, I think we have a question about the job board. So someone implemented like a vote up and down feature, a bit like Reddit or Product Hunt, and was asking why it refitches the collection after every vote. That depends on how you set up the workflow, but that's something we've done voluntarily in the job board templates, because when you add a new vote, you need like you update the data on your backend, and then you need to get back this data to WeWeb. It's a bit like the same issue we showed at the beginning of the live with the get me endpoint, is that anything that's not sent to WeWeb through an API call, WeWeb doesn't know already. So you have to get back this data. So yeah, that's why you need to do this. And then another question. Not directly related to WeWeb, but that could be interesting. My user need to input billing and shipping addresses. Is there a good data source you recommend with country code, states, and province cities? So there's many. Actually, there's I'm speaking from my previous job actually, because I was handling this kind of thing. But there are many APIs for this. The biggest one, it's not the most reliable, but the biggest one are the ones from the government directly. So the US has one, France has one, I think Germany has one. I think they all have one. Otherwise, the classic one is to use Google Maps. They have a service which is not like displaying the map, but like autocomplete, and you give it when you type an address, it will give you back the whole structure address with like the country code, the region, the zip code, this kind of thing, so that you can use. It's basically what you see when you're like typing an address in a Shopify store, like on Airbnb, for example, this kind of thing, and it will autocomplete with the Google address. So yeah, I think we were talking on doing a component that uses this, if I'm not, or we can add this in the roadmap.
Yeah, right now you have one. If
Yeah.
you check in the search bar and for a component called search and results, search
Yeah.
with results, something like
Let
this.
me show this.
Guess maybe you can, yeah, you can show that. It's already built. Just need to be bound and customized. But it's a good starting point.
Yeah, let me check. Okay, so if I go there and then
Yeah, the
search with
second one.
results.
Yes,
Okay, let me
exactly.
remove this so that, yeah, obviously. Obviously, I didn't finish my page, so yeah, let me go on another page. Search with results. Yeah, include
So it comes,
variables.
yeah, it comes with a component, and in here you can type in Jane, for example, in preview. It's linked to, and you have something like this. So if you look at what it's bound to a variable in here. So a variable with it's an array of objects, but it could be a collection. If it's a collection, then you're gonna have dynamic data. Or if you don't want to use any collection, you can use an array like this and just update the array with a call, a request somewhere. Uh, you can also, if you want just to do an MVP of your, because it was for, yes, it was for addresses, not just for country codes. Okay. If it's for country codes, you can just have a big array static and it works well. But if it's for addresses, you need to make a request to an API before. So in here, in this one, you can add in the can you click the search input, please, Q?
Yep.
And on that one, in the workflow, you can add a workflow in here, search, and you're gonna see that there are some things on change. The nice thing is that there is a debounce, so it won't make the request while typing in. I guess in the setting in here, yes, debounce it's on, so you can put by default it's 500 milliseconds. You can put a bit more, but basically it will make the request after this yeah, the thousand is nice. So after 1 second, and in here you can make the request to your API, get the result, and then save the result into the search results array variable, and it should work. And then you need, of course, to bind the text and results into this one.
Yeah, it's really useful for like using with Google like Maps, for example, or Algolia, for example. And yeah, basically that's how I would do it also. Like asking Google, like take this address, give me the suggestions. And what Google does is that give you many suggestions. But most of the time you use the first one, and in the first one you will get a whole object with like the country, the state, the zip code, the number of the street, anything, even the latitude and the longitude. So it's really, really useful. Yeah. Okay, we're getting new questions. Nice. Let me check this one. Where is the best location to send a third-party API request from WeWeb frontend or Xano backend? Depends. It really depends.
This is a good question.
Yeah. I would say WeWeb when it's something that should be done from the front end, that should be really quick. That's not like you don't need any huge security. You're okay if the API call fails because you're like technically the user browser is doing it, so you don't know if the user like could like lose access to internet, could I don't know, like close the tab. But if it's something really important and that you want to do like on a regular basis, you should do this on the back end. So
Yeah,
there's no big rule, I think,
I
except
guess
yeah,
maybe if you need to first use a secret API key
yeah,
with your third-party API, then X from the backend security for security reasons. The second one is if you need to manipulate the data with the data you already have, it's easier to do it in the backend. It prevents you from making many requests to your backend. The front end will make only one request, then the backend will work on its place and then return the results. So I guess if you need to use secret keys or if you need to manipulate the data with your own one before with the results. If, for example, for the address, you can make the request directly to Google if you like. Or maybe you would have no secret key there, I think. Uh, I need to check, but I guess this is the two rules. You could have everything in the backend if you prefer. It's really as you want, but we smile because this is a question developers always ask themselves when they are developing front end and back end. So this is always a question you need to ask yourself.
Yeah, I'm sending articles. Sorry, I sent the first one twice, but two articles that we wrote on the blog, like on using like securing no-code apps. So using like the right API calls from the backend and from the front end. And another one on like public and private API keys, because if a tool has only private API keys, as Flo said, like if you use it in the front end, anybody could see this in the developer tools, even if it's not visible in your app. So you should do this on the backend. That's why some tools like Stripe, they have like public keys that you can use in the front end because they are like restricted to read-only stuff, for example, or like non-critical stuff. But if you have only a private key, you should do this on the backend. Xavier is asking something. Do you think we should always fetch data from databases or save some data on user browser during navigation? That's a really good question. I think you should do both. It depends also, because collections can be really huge. And if you're changing just slight chunk of data, you should keep them in the user browser instead of like refetching everything. But if you're like changing many data and you need to be sure like you have the fresh data from the database, you should refetch it. Because the thing is, if you store everything in the user browser, it's faster, yes. So you should do this sometimes. But if the data gets changed also by, I don't know, another user then the backend gets changed, you need to have the fresh data sometimes also.
Yeah, and one thing to be careful with this, so if you are using preserve on navigation when you change page and you don't have to reload, of course, the collections every time, it's a nice thing to do. Maybe you also had in mind to save into local storage or something like this. If you do that, it can be nice, for example, for toggling a light mode or dark mode. You know, you don't necessarily have to save this into a data, but it's nice when the users come back to have the information. But one thing you need to keep in mind when you do something like this is always have a way to reset the data you save into the local storage, because when it's there, it's there. So you need a way in the user experience to reset this data in a way. So always think about how you can update the data you put into the local storage. It's very, very important. Otherwise, you would have some surprises when you test your application.
Also, I've seen like messages from RJ. Basically, he needs custom headers in the Xano plugin. It's coming pretty soon, like in a few weeks. But yeah, in the meantime, you should use the REST API one. But it's coming as we speak, because we were talking about this morning also. So yeah, but it's definitely coming because many people have been asking for this. But the Xano plugin will basically get a huge facelift, like
Update.
revamp.
Yeah.
And we'll add the custom headers, the new metadata API key instead of the developer API key, which is not deprecated. And also you will have like no way to upload files directly to Xano. And I think we added also many more stuff, like changing
Yes, save the
the
token
data
for
sources, the
yeah,
branches,
the
the
passwordless
domain,
section,
yeah,
things
passwordless.
like
So
this.
yeah, many things. And one last question on self-hosting. Self-hosting, what do you recommend putting it? Have any recommendations where to find help and documentation about this? What do you mean by putting it, like hosting it? Because you can host on anything that supports Node and Vue.js, so basically
Yeah,
almost anything. So it could
any
be
cloud. Yeah,
Amazon, Google, Microsoft, can list everything, DigitalOcean, Heroku, anything you want.
yeah.
So
But
yeah,
we don't have a
Vercel maybe.
specific documentation for each one of them.
Yeah.
We should maybe write it one day, but right now you will have only what we have into. We do have one documentation for self-hosting, I
Yeah,
think.
on the repo, I think.
Yeah. to check
Find
that.
it
But
again.
yes, Maro, we need to write some documentations to be a bit more specific, so you can just follow on the each steps to self-host if you wish to.
And I think
Yeah.
that's it. Any other questions? I'm just checking again if we forgot some stuff.
So maybe the link you sent is the WeWeb server. So this is
I have
the big
authentication, yeah.
the big one to have everything hosted. You can also just host the front end and not everything.
Is there any plans for some simple animations similar to Webflow? Yeah, I think I
Oh
saw
yeah.
them in the product already.
Mm-hmm.
So let me open back the project I was on. So if I go here on effects, no, I don't remember.
No,
Why is it? No,
it's not in production queue.
it's not in production. Yeah, so yeah, sorry, I
It's
can't show this.
in
But
our environments in WeWeb, so we are testing it right now. Yeah, we are testing a keyframe editor, so you're gonna be able to copy paste any keyframe from any content you can find in the internet, even ChatGPT, and when you import it, you're gonna be able to edit each keyframe and make any animation you like. You're gonna have new triggers with the scroll and so on. So you will be able to do really nice animations really soon. By soon, I mean August. So next month.
he's asking also about like scroll
Yeah,
events. Yeah,
yeah. You're gonna be even able to know where the user is in a section. So not even the page, but even the section. So yeah.
nice. Yeah, I think that's all. So thanks again, everybody, for your questions. It was really interesting. So normally these office hours should be every other Tuesday, but the thing is I'm on holidays for more than 2 weeks or 2 weeks. I don't remember. So it will be in 3 weeks. So I will update the events, and then it will keep rolling every other Tuesday. So yeah, we'll see each other in 3 weeks. And again, don't hesitate to send your questions in the form. So I will send it back. So it's always the same form. So let me just find the link again so that I can send it to you in the chat. Yeah, copy. And please be really specific when you fill it, because I've had some questions, but that are like super broad. And sadly we can't answer them if it's like too vague. So that's why I just ask you, please like be really specific. And if you can do a Loom video, that really helps, so that we can really deep dive in your question and try to answer it the best way. And if it's a bug or a feedback, like something missing, don't worry, I will send you an email and just ask you to do like create a ticket. But yeah, anyway, for those of you that are going on holidays, have nice holidays, because I think we're not alone. So yeah, basically, by the way, it makes me think that there won't be like huge pushes to production in WeWeb in the following weeks, except next week you will see the pricing is evolving in a nice way. And I don't want it to spoil everything, but basically we're like, you will get more stuff for free. So I think you'll be happy about this. But yeah, in August we won't push like big changes. We'll do bug fixes, of course, but like most of the team will be on holidays. So that's why I hope you will also have nice holidays, and we'll see each other in 3 weeks. See ya, everybody.